Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Attack on Titan anime review. This one's going to be for Season 4, Episode 16, which is the finale for Part 1 of the final season. We did get confirmation at the end here that Part 2 of the final season is coming. It's coming winter 2022, which might seem extreme until you realize they mean anime winters 2022 season, which is basically just somewhere in the region of December, January, February. So it's really only like 9-10 months to a year that we're going to have to wait, so not too long. Again, this season of Attack on Titan, the first part of the final season, was part of the winter 2021 anime season, and it started in December, so we could actually have this as early as December, which is not too far away. So that's that. And this is an interesting episode because I've seen more people talking about just the hype for the next half of the season rather than really, I think, discussing this episode all that much. And I think that's an interesting one because I do feel this wasn't the most amazing episode, because for me the standout scenes were the little scene with Zeke, because there's a mystery surrounding what exactly happened in it, and it was short, and they teased a few little things. And then just the obvious setup stuff of the attack from Marley is coming in, it's right here, we are leaving off this half of the season ahead of the actual proper final season, part 2, with the idea Marley's attack is right here. Eren has transformed, the Jaws Titan is already here. Reiner's about to drop out of the sky. It's on. The second we hit the next half of this season, we're into the big action set piece, because this is the final season of the show. The last, 16 episodes? I don't know how many episodes they're going to do or anything like that, but, it's going to be the last few episodes, and that's really cool. But the rest of the episode I felt was just kind of like a lot of kind of heavy dialogue scenes that were quite long, in that this episode was really only made up of about 5-6 main scenes, and a few of them were just really long dialogue scenes. And I didn't really get all that much out of, say, the Yelena and Pixis scene. I felt that was just kind of like a quick recap. Here's where we stand with the whole spinal fluid wine thing, and roughly how this is all being handled. Then you get to the sort of dialogue scene with Eren, Mikasa, John, Connie talking, and Yelena comes in and explains some stuff. And again, it's dialogue to catch characters up with stuff that's happening in the other sides of the episode, and it's fine. I liked, PX's involvement in this episode. That was really cool to see her kind of come in, point the gun at Eren. Eren turned the situation around, but then her change sides, and then change sides again, and gain Gabby's trust once again. But it was a really long sequence to maybe not accomplish as much as they could have. And it's just a sense for for the finale of this half of the season, I maybe expected them to do a little bit more. And it's probably just a situation of, in terms of the adaptation, this is where they got to, and they realized they would have to end before starting the battle. Otherwise, you probably would have frustrated even more people if we had seen a decent amount of the battle and then had to wait a year for it. So they kind of had to do it like this and just leave us kind of hanging a little bit on maybe not the strongest episode this season, because in general this season's been super strong. And it is kind of unfortunate that I think this perhaps is one of the weaker episodes of the season. But it's a good setup episode. It still was good at accomplishing what it needed to do. So let's get into talking about this. The first thing I want to talk about is the Zeke scene, because like I said, I think it was the most intriguing, thought-provoking scene because of last week's episode, the last episode. So the Thunder Spear goes off, and we find out that Zeke is still alive, but he's obviously been blown in half. And he literally says that he's dying. He can't recover from this. He's going to die shortly. And we get a very interesting sequence of events here as a pure Titan comes up to him. And you think what's going to happen is that he's going to be eaten by this pure Titan, and then that person is now the Beast Titan. But instead, the Pure Titan rips its stomach open and just places Zeke inside. So it's kind of this weird thing of like, it's in the stomach still, but it hasn't eaten him. How exactly does that work? So I don't think Zeke is going to die. I think Zeke is going to be okay. I think the takeaway from this is that this is very different behavior from one of these kind of mindless Titans. Clearly it's something to do with Zeke's ability to control Titans to some degree, and I'm guessing this will assist Zeke in recovering from a major injury. That like this Titan, its own like recovery abilities are like applied to Zeke or something like that, and it sacrifices itself to save Zeke or something like that. I think that's going to be the explanation here. This was a kind of fortunate series of events that has led to Zeke being able to survive, because there's no way they're getting rid of the character now. Yes, there's a little bit of setup behind the scenes for like maybe Historia's child, when it's born, could inherit the Beast Titan, but they definitely want to have Eren and Zeke scenes going forward. But this was meant to add complexity to things of like, Zeke is going to have to go through, I suppose, a little bit of a process to restore himself, which is going to add complexity to when Eren can actually meet with him to activate the Founding Titan power. So I think that's kind of what's going on here. I do also believe Levi is still alive. I think the fact that they didn't focus on him was a good sign for him surviving. They want to sort of tease the idea of you don't know how bad his injuries are, but if he had died, I think they would have stated it here more or less. I still think he will be injured, but he'll be able to recover enough to fight again, because I think we're going to get another Zeke-Levi showdown, and Levi is not going to hesitate next time to fully end Zeke, but Zeke gets away with it for now, I suppose, is the thing. But the other interesting point there was that we also got a little bit of a kind of flash of Ymir, the original Titan. That was really interesting, and it's like, okay, I've been kind of predicting it sort of all season that I do think we're probably going to get her backstory, like the backstory on where Titans came from in the first place, told properly to us. And I think that little glimpse of her highlights that for sure that's definitely going to happen. So that was a positive thing to see. The trailer for the next half of the season also had some Ymir in it as well. So very happy to see that. Yeah, let's get into the other scenes here. So, like I said, I didn't get too much information out of the relatively long scene between Yelena talking to Pixis. They basically just like explained why they're all wearing kind of bits of fabric on their arms and what they mean. That like white means you're a Jaegerist, red means you have switched over to the Jaegerist side and that you have drank spinal fluid wine, and in black means you've drank spinal fluid wine but you're not allied with the Jaegerists. And that was really about it. It was just getting across the idea that the way the Jaegerists are utilizing the spinal fluid wine is to gain control of the military through the threat of activation, that basically we can just get Zeke to scream basically and you get transformed into a Titan. If you don't want to do that, do as we say. And so that's how they have full control here. Now this is obviously a kind of complicated point because the attack comes in right now. How is this organized, like, at all? Because, like I've talked about in a few of these videos, like, they're all on the same side ultimately against Marley, but they've added this extra layer of now there's a civil war basically on parity between the Jaegerists and the government. Do they fight together? What happens here coming up like immediately next? I'm not entirely sure because so many people are like either like in prison, not prepared to fight, because of what happened like with Levi and stuff like that. So many of the powerful soldiers have now been taken out completely. They're not really in much of a situation to fight back, except the fact that Eren is now like what, 3 Titans in one, and should be a threat for anyone pretty much. So that was kind of interesting. But Yelena, I'm still waiting for something to happen with her. Maybe it is just that, like, I'm waiting for, like, okay, show me some more backstory with this character. Like, there has to be a reason why she's being, like, focused on so much, and the whole complex of her viewing, like, Zeke and Eren as, like, godlike figures, where that exactly comes from and what exactly she's about. Um, I it just I felt like a lot of the scenes with her this season, and especially in this episode, just felt like, okay, this is a lot of talking, but I don't really know what you're accomplishing necessarily. I thought the scene with, like, her talking to, like, Mikasa, Armin, and everyone was a lot better, because at least that's her filling them in on, this is Zeke's plan, that thus Eren is involved in this plan as well, the Eldian euthanasia plan. Telling them that, yeah, the plan is to use the founding Titan powers to make Eldians not able to have children and have them peacefully, slowly die out, and use the threat of the rumbling to allow Eldians to live peacefully as this happens. And then Armin's, like, acting at the end, like he's really moved by this noble act, and she seems to, be involved in this. Like, she seems to believe Armin when he says this. So I'm guessing that's how our main group of characters is going to escape from Yelena's control and get involved in the battle. Is that they'll, manipulate their way out of Yelena's clutches here and go from there. Because Armin obviously doesn't want to transform because he'll kill so many people because he's the colossal titan. But the dialogue that they had before Yelena arrived, where they're talking about what just happened, the fact that Armin and Mikasa had met with Eren, was very interesting. In that, like, Connie is sort of just done with him. He thinks Eren has gone completely off the deep end. But interestingly, Jean is actually the one to sort of make the point of, okay, so he said something very hurtful to Mikasa and then beat up Armin. Why would Eren do something like that, given that you are the two most important people to him in the entire world? Either he's gone completely insane, which I don't think any of us really think he has gone insane, or there's a reason behind what he's doing. And they seem to all kind of linger on that for a second of, like, okay, has he got something planned that's, like, deeper than everything that he's not telling us? With the idea being that, like, he seems to be getting the entire world to go against him for some reason. What is that reason? And I kind of like that coming from Jean, who's kind of more of, like, Eren's rival. Like, they're friends, but, it is more of a rivalry type thing. That he's the one who can see that because he's not as emotionally invested in Eren as maybe some of the others are. That he's able to see, like, maybe there's something planned there. And I kind of like that they just brought that up with the characters after that. That, you were emotionally impacted by what Eren did to you, but did you not find it weird that he would change so much and just randomly start treating you that way? Thought-provoking. Yeah, that's where those characters are all left off, which leaves pretty much the rest of the episode to focus on the kind of lengthy, Pieck, Eren scene. Gabby's there as well. As they kind of walk up to the roof, he wants her to prove her loyalty to him by pointing out where all of the Marleyan infiltrators are, but she reverses the situation again and points out, Eren, this is where he is, attack him. The attack comes in. So that's where we start off the battle and sort of end the season for now. So I like Pieck as a character. I thought this was a cool use of her in terms of, she's the card titan, but she's also intelligent as just a kind of agent here. But I think the main takeaway from this was that they added so much complexity to her in terms of getting, I suppose, her opinions on the whole Marleyan Eldian situation, because while, yes, she was ultimately, I suppose, lying to sort of get Eren to believe that she'd switched sides, I think there was elements of truth to what she was saying, in that her backstory, because they showed it, I don't think was a lie. She did become a Titan shifter and became the card Titan to, get medical treatment for her father, her only family member left. and that her motivations are about that, gaining the benefits for her family by becoming the warrior that Marley wants. But she is not so brainwashed into the Marleyan way of thinking like Gabby is, that she believes that Eldians are devils, and that, becoming an honorary Marleyan is something like she heavily aspires to. She's just come to really, see the people around her as comrades, because she's fought alongside them, people she cares about has died, and so on, and she doesn't overly see it as just, it's Eldians versus Marleyans, and that no, she's allies with these people and cares about them. And you saw that with when the gunners that were on her Titan died. She was impacted by that. She had a relationship with them, and she cares about them. And that was good, but you can still get across the idea that she's not happy. She doesn't just accept the dynamic that's there fully. In that, I think she wanted to, get through to Gabby that your way of thinking isn't really correct. You don't have to fully switch sides from being an Eldian devil to being Eldians should be in the ascendancy, but realize that honorary Marleyan means like nothing. She asks her the question, are we Eldians or Marleyans? And the answer is they aren't, full stop Marleyans. Honorary Marleyans is not answering the question. They're Eldians, and it's just Gabby having to accept that you don't have to just make up for the past this whole time. Make of your time being a warrior what you will, but don't just retread over the same sort of often said points of Eldian devils and so on. And I think everything that Gabby has been through, like her world has been turned upside down like 3 or 4 times in the last few episodes. She has to be gradually getting to that point where she realizes that it's a lot more complicated than she's ever been told, and she's seen the depth of that with everything that's happened. So I like that situation of like, it's not just that everything PX said prior to the last scene of the episode was a lie. She still had some points to make in all of that, and they came across. But Gabby, you're still waiting to see a moment from Gabby where she shows that she's grown and has come to accept the issues with viewing Eldians as she does. And I'm waiting for that to happen, because they're teasing the idea of, like, they bring up Falco's also drank Zeke's spinal fluid, so something's going to happen with him. Because again, we know from, like, they teased this in, like, I think it was the first episode of this season. They teased the idea that it seems like Falco has the sort of Titan connection, so he's going to become one of the Titan shifters at some point. Which one is it going to be? Because like Zeke is obviously going to recover at some point. He's going to, I'm assuming, activate his scream at some point, which will turn a certain amount of people into Titans. And I'm guessing Falco will probably end up being one of them. And because of what's going to happen, he's potentially going to have the ability to become one of the Titans. I don't know exactly how to predict which one it'll be, but it seems obvious that that's what's going to happen because of what they showed in the first episode. And we haven't seen Falco for a little bit. Gabby still cares. PX seemed a bit concerned about this as well, and teases the idea of like, oh, surely he told you about the exact specifics of his special Titan powers that only he knows about. PX plays it very well, what she says to Eren and so on, and Eren is taken a little bit by surprise by what's going on, in that, like, he's nearly eaten by Galliard, but he ultimately avoids it. I think he just gets his legs bitten off, but he's immediately able to transform into the Attack Titan. And yeah, I guess the immediate tease is that we are going to get to see Eren utilize the Warhammer Titan abilities in combat for one of the first times properly. We've seen him use it to escape and so on, but now we're going to see it in action. And my guess is that they're setting up Reiner versus Eren, but nothing points to the fact that like Reiner's going to be able to do that much against Eren. Eren already seemingly had a little bit of the advantage before he had the Warhammer Titan, and now it just seems like it's even further in his favor. So it's going to take a massive combined effort from Marley to in any way get in Eren's way. In that they're not going to have the Beast Titan to back them up, so it's going to have to rely on Cart Titan, Jaw Titan, to really do, and the Armor Titan to do most of this. So interesting stuff for sure. But I think that's more or less everything I want to say about the episode. Like I said, it's more of a setup for the next season than anything, and I like the way they teased it, that they're aware this is the last group of episodes that are coming winter 2022. This is what you've been waiting for. The whole like naming scheme for some of the earlier episodes about 2,000 years. It's happening, coming up. They showed a few kind of images, clips, and stuff like that. And look, I'm excited. I'm super, super excited to see how this ends. And that's the thing, I think, with this first half of the season, is that there was a lot of really impactful stuff, like early on, like what they managed to do with the characters, making you, not featuring a lot of the main cast for the earlier episodes, and instead introducing you to like a new cast of main characters who you kind of care about, and presenting that idea of like, here's the Marleyan side of things, not as bad as you thought. And the whole time through, you're kind of thinking like, no one's truly the full-on like villain in all of this. Like, it's just this cycle of revenge going back and forth. Not everyone knows the full history of what's going on, and it's just people taking revenge and wanting to kill each other over and over again. How are they going to resolve this? And here's Zeke's plan that we finally have, but they're teasing that Eren obviously likely doesn't agree with that plan, so what is his plan? And just, the action is going to be incredible, but also that really important lore of their teasing Ymir, that is going to be really, really, really important in terms of, I think, explaining a lot about what we're thematically going to be really exploring in terms of what Attack on Titan was really about in the first place, in a way, is whatever the Ymir backstory is when we get it. And just, in a way, like, does she still have an influence over like everything that happens with Titans? The founding Titan power, I guess, somehow ultimately stems back to her. That sort of a question. That's what's really, really intriguing to me. And so the whole little bit of a tease with Ymir with Zeke is fascinating to me. Not to mention just the fact that they've been so, mysterious about Eren. Like, he really hasn't had that many scenes where he's just kind of talked about, like, this is what I'm doing. He's just done stuff, and a lot of what he said has just been very, like, this is who I am now, this is what I'm doing, I'm just moving forward forever. And that doesn't fit with sort of the position he's in to some degrees. But there's clearly something going on, and I think that's really, really intriguing, definitely. But they've also left themselves in a position where, with potentially what 12 to 16 episodes, I guess, is what we're going to get, they need to make sure they deliver on, a satisfying explanation for Eren's actions, and have it work, and have the plot work with what's going on. Because you've suddenly turned it into a little bit of like this repetition of the cycle of hatred going back and forth. That's a good plot, but it can be an overused plot. A lot of your major mysteries have been revealed at this point in like season 3. Yes, you still have the Ymir backstory and a few other little bits, but most of that is done now, and now you have to just address this plot. Is it strong enough to lead to a strong ending, or could Attack on Titan potentially go down with, quite a common thing actually with anime and manga of just relatively weak endings? I think everyone is familiar with some series along the way that they've really liked that doesn't have a particularly great ending. Attack on Titan, it has the potential to nail it, get it right, but it does also have the potential for potentially the ending to really go awry. And I'm not sure where I stand on that right now. I see a little bit of a red flag just with regards to main character being mysterious, potentially secret plan in the background. Is that good enough to be the thing that turns the tables at the end? I'm not sure. But yeah, they're my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts have been. But that's the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.